If you don't have a bio, you're not going to have any information to send out with demos that are going to secure you the gigs. You're not going to have any information that you can send to media to get your publicity. So the bio is really a key thing, and there's it's a fine line between a good bio and a bad bio. So Stephen, maybe if I could ask you to start off with, what do you think is essential to put in a bio, and what makes a good one and separates it from a dart?
I think the best thing to remember with bios is not to have one bio. The bio that you send to venues to get a gig is going to be very different to the bio that you're sending to media to get a story, things like that, because the places that you're sending it to are looking for different things. I mean, for the media, the first thing they're looking for is some kind of news angle, and if the best thing you've got to tell about your band is who you've played with and the fact that you've got a new album coming out, then you're not going to stand out from the crowd. So the main thing when you're writing the bio, I think, is to just jot down some dot points first about what the interesting points are with your band, and then making sure that as many of those as possible are at the front of the bio, so that people don't have to go trawling through to the end. I mean, generally, if it's a local band with a first CD, you don't need a 4-page bio. You just need a one page with, generally when we do our bios now, we've got a box at the top with some basic dot point facts. So, what the single is, what the album is, when it comes out, the MySpace site, the website, and just the general information in a box at the top, and then from there go for the go for the real bio material, basically. If you're a more established artist, then it may be necessary to do a bio that's longer than a page. If that's the case, then generally we always make sure that we have two versions of it, one that is a 1-page bio and one that's maybe two. Sometimes if it's, I don't know, if it's Michael Jackson, maybe you might go to a 3-page bio. But generally keep it as short as possible, and then have a longer version, so that if a journalist is going to do a more in-depth story on you, then you've got a longer copy that they can read before the interview to get some more in-depth questions.
So with the bio, you said, Stephen, you think it's a good idea to come up with a story angle, and it's certainly something that I've used a lot of the times when I've been doing up stories for time off. You look for that one thing in the bio that's a little bit different, that perhaps could trigger a question in an interview and lead to a whole angle on a story that might make an artist really stand out from the crowd. What do you reckon? Do you reckon it's a good idea for bands to get together and try and think about, maybe over a couple of beers, some of the funny stories, some of the things that are different that set them apart, that
Absolutely. I mean, the number of clients that we have come through that, you'll get to the end of the campaign and you'll be having a beer with them, and they'll mention some story that happened at a gig or something, and you go, oh my God, if you'd have told us this at the beginning, that's a whole story angle that would have been amazing and would have got some more press. So now we sit down with the client at the start and ask them all the stupid questions. Do you collect model trains? Do you, I don't know, do you actually, work at a mortuary at night? Do you, anything like that might not even really be related to the band, but something that can come around and make for a good story angle.
With the bio, I think Stephen's covered a really important point about the length of it. I don't think any artist, unless you put out 2 or 3 albums, should be sending more than a 1-page bio, because it's not going to get read. You've got to be really concise about what you put in there, as well as having some interesting information as well. So it's a tough thing. Perhaps the best thing to do with the bio is seek out some professional help. Go to the likes of Stephen or Evan, or suss out some other media or promotions experts in the music industry and get some advice on writing a good bio. Evan, you've probably seen a few shabby bios in your time.
Yeah.
What would you suggest? Have you got any points to give to everyone?
I think, Steve's points, the point, you don't need too many adjectives. You really don't, and you want to make sure that your primary information, as Steve was saying, is at the top in a box. Yeah, definitely at least make sure that it's at the front, because at the end of the day, time poor is what media are, like a lot of people. And I think Matt touched on an important point whereby, you know, it comes down to you want to make people's jobs easy, all across the board, you know. And so with your bio in general, that's exactly what you're doing. You want to make it easy, and yeah, you do want different bios for different things. You know, like gigs, they want something different there. A venue wants to know that you're going to pull people, whereas the media is more interested in a certain angle. And it does come down to differentiating yourself. I think it has to be done truthfully and honestly. You know, you get a lot of cats who would stretch that truth a little bit. It has to be straight up and down. And yeah, I think the most important thing really is to make sure that your primary information is up the front, up the top, easy to digest, easy to copy and paste, and like I said, you know, not too hard on the adjectives. You know, I don't, enthrall doesn't do it for me.
Make sure if you're going to use, you know, if you're going to build yourself up in a bio, use someone else that said that about you. Use a quote from someone else's story. Don't say that you have the best release of the year, or don't say that, you know, you're Brisbane's hottest new act, if it's just you saying it, because everyone says it and they just sound like wankers.
Yeah, that's it. And you know, people in the media can get the bio come through and it says what everybody else says.
They're not going to look and go, oh my god, it's a great new band with a new album. That's a great angle, because they use that angle every week.
And wait, they've had gigs.
It is a very pertinent point to make about overuse of adjectives and superlatives, and you know, just try and really, as Evan said, be honest about what you put in your bio.